Hey guys, welcome back to I'm Just a Fan. It's your host Ben, and today we're going to be recapping the national championship from last night. Ohio State is the champs, and let's talk about it. Ohio State wins the game 34-23. The score is a little misleading, but at the same time it's not. First, just starting it and talking about how the actual game started. Ohio State, Notre Dame got it going. They got a touchdown at the gate, but then Ohio State really started to take over. They started to really waste a lot of clock, score a lot of points. All of a sudden, it's 21-7, and it was starting to get a little bit out of hand. I think going into halftime, Notre Dame had a total of 85 yards, and I was really curious to see how they were going to fight back. It took a little bit for them to get going. Ohio State scored again, and at one point it was, I think, 31-7 or 31-8, and this is where I thought things were probably over. I thought it was over, but that was not the case. Notre Dame battled back, and give them credit. I didn't think that they were going to be able to fight back in the way that they did, but they made some crucial mistakes down the stretch, which costed them this game, and that's really what I'm going to focus on. We're also going to focus on a few players and the coaches, and overall just kind of recap this entire game. So down the stretch, the plays that really impacted the game the most, in my opinion, for Notre Dame was the missed field goal, but also the decision to go for the field goal. At that point in the game, you had about 9 minutes left. I can't remember how much you were down by, but I think you were down by 16. I think it was 31-15. And Notre Dame had just gone on a 70-yard drive. 70-yard drive. Mind you, again, they're down by over 2 scores. And Freeman decides to go for a field goal there. Now, hindsight's 20/20, but I just did not like the call. I did not like it. It was just not what I thought you had to do there, and it was really just because of the time. Even if you got the field goal, you still had to score 2 touchdowns. You still had to get 2 stops, which, as we saw in the beginning of the game, was pretty difficult for your defense to do. So I felt like that was just too much of an ask for that Notre Dame defense. And little do you know, the kid ends up missing the field goal anyways, which is just tough for him because he made that kick last week or 2 weeks, however long it was ago, against Penn State in the biggest moment. But he just could not come up in this one. It was off the, what do you call it? I guess the crossbar? I don't know exactly what you call it, but it was hit the goalpost, yeah. Hit the goalpost, and that's really all it was. At that point, I really thought the game was over. But again, credit to Notre Dame. They did battle back. Leonard led them on a drive. Notre Dame scored, but it just wasn't enough time to really get it done. Ohio State wasted a little bit of clock at the end of the game, got some crucial first downs, and the dagger was that play to Smith. That was a phenomenal ball by Howard. Smith with a great catch as well, and that was really game. Now getting into the players, on Ohio State's side, Will Howard again had another great game. This guy has really impressed me. I was not a big fan of his game going into the playoffs. At times I felt like he was limited. But for a freshman to show this much poise and confidence over these last couple weeks, really the last month, it's really wowed me. He finished last night 17 for 21, 231 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and that's just passing. For Ohio State on the ground, their backs both got it going, but the leader was by far Judkins on 11 carries, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was an impactful player last night. And of course, the rookie as well, Jeremiah Smith. 5 receptions for 88 yards and 1 touchdown. The touchdown was key because he was wide open. And that catch at the end of the game, obviously, it iced the game. So they played very well. Now, when we look at Notre Dame, I thought Leonard played pretty well as well. 22 for 31, 255, 2 touchdowns. Of course, got it done in the run game as well. It's what he does. He had 17 carries for 40 yards. It's very interesting how they use this guy. I don't know if his game will translate to the NFL, but I do think he is definitely a baller. I was not big on him this year, but again, same as Howard, he really showed me a lot within this last month, and it really made me respect him. Now, the other threat that killed Penn State, and they killed Ohio State today too, last night, was Jaden Greathouse, the deep threat. 6 receptions for 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. This probably isn't the greatest comp because the guy wasn't that good in the NFL, but he really reminds me of like Robbie Anderson, someone like that. A slim guy, but he's tall, and he can just break some deep balls. Great, at pinpointing the catch as well. He definitely is a threat. He made some plays these last couple of weeks, so I'm curious to see how he does in his future. But overall, those were the players that made the biggest impacts. And again, just touching back on the quarterbacks, I really liked what I saw from both Howard and Leonard on this last month. Howard, we're going to need to continue to watch him because he is a freshman. And again, I don't know if his game will translate to the NFL, but he really has showed a lot of poise. And like I said, the confidence was pretty impressive. And again, just credit to Leonard. I thought he did pretty good for Notre Dame these last couple of weeks. I thought Penn State was going to be able to beat him. They couldn't get it done against him. He made some key throws specifically on the third downs and third down and longs as well. And he just continues to run the ball. Takes as many hits as he needs to take to get his team the W. He doesn't care. I mean, he's definitely a baller. I cannot talk shit on him anymore. He definitely plays a good brand of football. So I just want to give credit to these quarterbacks. They were both great to watch. Don't hang your head too low if you're Leonard. You balled out, and Howard, of course, you balled out. I just thought they both played pretty good over these last couple games, and specifically last night. Now, getting into the coaches. First, we'll start with Freeman. I thought that Freeman had a phenomenal year. I thought he was going down prior to this year. I thought he was going down the same path as Kelly. He's in a lot of games, but they just don't get the big win. One of those games I think about is last year, where he lost to Ohio State in South Bend on the goal line. And I didn't know what to make of Freeman. I knew he was a good coach. He's young. He's respectable. He seems to be a leader of men. But this year really showed me a lot. I know they did play a pretty weak schedule overall, but at the same time, to get Notre Dame to this point, I don't think anyone was expecting that. I don't think anyone really was, and again, it's just a credit to him. He had this team well prepared. It wasn't enough to get the win because I think Ohio State was honestly just way too talented. But at the same time, credit to him. He did a lot with them. I feel like he maximized this roster for what he had. And I think he sets up Notre Dame for a pretty successful future going forward. This is a guy that seems to be committed to the university. He's only going to make Notre Dame more of an attractive spot. It almost seemed like people were liking Notre Dame this year at the end of this run, which is something I've never heard about Notre Dame. And I think it's really all credit to Leonard, but more to Freeman, because he just represents that program in such a good way. And I just wanted to give him his flowers. I know they didn't win, but he did a very good job this year. Did a very good job and took him almost all the way, but it just wasn't enough. But I think his biggest mistake for last night was by far the decision to go for the field goal. He's going to have to live from that, learn from it. Maybe you got to be more aggressive going forward, but overall, I thought he did a phenomenal job this year. Now on to Ryan Day. I hate giving this guy credit. As a Penn State fan, Ohio State has caused me an insufferable amount of pain over my college football life so far, but I have to give this guy a ton of credit. I've been saying it in all my Ohio State videos. This guy was backed into a corner after losing to Michigan this year at home at the Shoe, and he still continued to have the perseverance, the grit, the determination to fight back, and he did. He had this team ready, and they went on a tear. They went on a tear this last month, and that's why I want to give him so much credit. Yes, he went 0 for 4 against Michigan so far as a head coach, which obviously sucks, but he still got a national championship, something that Ohio State hasn't done in the last 10 years. It's been 10 years since they won a national championship. You have to give this guy credit. He's never going to hear, oh, Ryan Day can't win the big game. Ryan Day can't do this. Ryan Day can't beat Michigan. And look, I think he will beat Michigan at some point, I'm sure. And he will have to do that. But all those people saying, oh, he can't beat Michigan. If I'm Ryan Day from now on, I'm pointing at my finger. I got a ring. Do you have a ring? Yeah, Michigan has the ring, but prior to last year, they couldn't really talk much smack. other than beating Ohio State for a few years. I just want to give credit to Ryan Day. It was one hell of a year coaching for him. Him and Chip Kelly were a great duo. Obviously, he had these guys ready to play, and I think they had a lot to play for the university. He's coaching for his job, and just overall pride as a program and as men. After seeing Michigan plant that flag on the field, and there was the whole mess with all the fights, Ohio State just looked like they were going out sad. They looked like they were going out sad. I thought, they weren't going to fire Ryan Day heading into the playoffs, but it was the closest I've thought that he was maybe going to get fired. And again, he persevered. He had him ready for Tennessee. They killed him. Had him ready for Oregon. Killed him. Had him ready for Texas last week. It was a tight game, but they made some big plays. They won the football game. And last night again, yes, Notre Dame creeped back a little bit in the third and the fourth quarter, but Ohio State was ready to play that football game. Now, yes, they've had a ton of talent. I understand. But you still have to get the job done. And he did. He got the job done, and I have to give credit to him. And that's really all I got to say about him. But on a human level, it's very hard not to root for Ryan Day and be happy for him as well. Those are my main takeaways from the game. Not much more to say. Overall, I thought it was a pretty solid college football season. I think for the playoff, they do need to change up the seeding a little bit. There's no reason Oregon should be getting Ohio State. They should be getting rewarded with a weaker team. And as a Penn State fan, I can say that we got away with one of the easier roads to get to where we were. I do think they need to rework it, but that's something they will focus on, I'm sure, in the off season. And that's really all I got for you guys today. Just wanted to get this out there to talk about the game. I have some other videos ready for this week. And we got a lot of sports to talk about. This is a big sports week, so we got a lot to talk about, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys.